What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Two Knicks Chicks. I'm your girl, lady, and the chef, joined by my co host.
Diva 21, what's up?
What's going on?
Um, little I'm not even gonna say a little disappointed because as I mentioned in our previous podcast, when the Knicks went on that road trip, I predicted them 3-2. So, you know, I wasn't or didn't have high hopes or high expectations for them to beat Minnesota. Um, that's just that's just where I lied. That's why I predicted them 3-2. But you know what? We're hopefully, we get back on track Friday. It's another new day. And and get back on that winning streak.
Yeah, the Knicks played the Minnesota Timberwolves yesterday. They lost 100 to 117. The Knicks are now 8-6. They're seventh in the Eastern Conference. Um, that game to me, the first half, I thought the Knicks kept the game pretty close. And then after once the second half hit, it was the third quarter. The Knicks just pretty much looked disheveled. The defense
Yeah.
wasn't there. I thought Minnesota seemed to have, regrouped and talked about like, hey, we can pull away from these guys.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but my biggest takeaway was in the second half, the defense just collapsed.
Yeah.
There was not enough coverage. Guys would get on the Minnesota, Rudy Gobert, Towns were getting easy dunks. I thought that the coverage, Mitch was having to make hard decisions whether to cover his man down low and trying to worry about covering Anthony Edwards because Grimes clearly couldn't, he was no match for Anthony Edwards. He just couldn't keep up with him. He even crossed him over at one point, got past him. So I thought the defense definitely collapsed in the second half. I thought the first half, the Knicks did a great job, make knocking down shots, shooting the ball. I thought the ball movement was there, but and Mitch even had a nice crossover and then dunked the ball in the first quarter, which was nice. We haven't, I've never seen Mitch do that, so I was very surprised to see Mitch make that move. But I just felt like I don't know, the Knicks just kind of lost their way in the second half of that game and Minnesota just ran away and it just I don't know, it just something just clicked off and they just were out of sync. What did
Yeah.
you feel like went wrong in that game?
You know what? And I just want to just concur with what you said. Like that first half was like they were in it. They were only down by two. And Anthony Edwards only had 4 points. And like you said, that third quarter he just put on the Jets and he just went off. Um, the ball movement stopped. There was a collapse in the defense, on the defensive end. And for me, what went wrong? We lack, size and depth. We really don't have a true four to come behind, Randall. And even our three, it's the size is to me is minimum. So we really don't, we lack like size and length. And as Tony mentioned in yesterday's podcast, that's what he, no matter of fact, he mentioned it with when he was on with Sim. They said I watched their podcast from yesterday.
Was that the
And one of their
losers lounge or was that the post game coverage?
the post game.
Okay. I
Yeah,
was watching the losers lounge. I didn't get to watch the post game coverage.
yeah. Um, we just lack depth and just size, length. So when you don't have that, the matchup becomes all the more daunting. And if you can't match up with your guy, then you're gonna get beat.
Yeah.
Um, so I think for me, that's what went wrong for us. For the Knicks, and they got to figure it out because you're gonna run up against Minnesota, and those other teams that have that length. So what do you do? That was one of my things with them.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that is definitely an issue that the Knicks have is that we don't have enough tall bigs on our team. You know, we
Yeah,
need more of those taller, aggressive guys like your Mitchell Robinsons who can be more of a presence on the court. And the Knicks don't really have that. We have enough like guards, but we don't have the guys with the wingspan and the height,
yeah,
and just guys that are just, I feel like, again, we're working with what we have. The Knicks are almost like that Thanksgiving dinner. This is all we're able to get. We couldn't get the fresh candy yams. We got to get the canned ones, but we got to jazz it up and doctor it up and make it as good as we can. So we're going to work with what we have. But I agree 100%. When we go against teams who have those twin tower guys like Rudy,
yeah,
Jokic, your KD who has the length and the height, to Carl Anthony Towns, these guys who are taller and bigger, what are you gonna do? Or you play against um Anthony on the Lakers. When you're playing against these bigs, we need some help because you can't play Hartenstein and Mitch at the same time.
no,
It's unfortunate, but and then you can't just rely on Randall just to try to get rebounds for us and you know try to help out. He's doing his best. And I thought Randall played a really good game yesterday. I thought Randall made a lot of like tough baskets, which is what I want to see from Randall. He did a lot of nice like taking the ball in shots. His shot selection was great to me. He did a lot of nice post moves, but they were timely baskets. They weren't dribble, dribble, dribble. I'm wasting the clock down. It was within the flow of the game. I thought a lot of his baskets, like I said, they were tough baskets. I thought he made challenging shots, ones that you was more see like Jalen Brunson make.
mhm,
But
yeah,
Randall had a really nice game. He even had I saw at one play where he missed, he drove or he went to go for the layup. He missed it. He grabbed his own rebound. He faked it a few times, and he has that strength and to go and play down low. And I think that's going to be needed from Randall. But the way Randall played against Minnesota last night, I want to see Randall making those type of moves on a night in, night out basis against other teams because Randall has that capability. We know you can hit the three, but sometimes I want to see him bring it in a lot more. Not sometimes, a lot more, bring the ball
yeah,
in because he has that ability to drive and make those, he makes those tough baskets, but he does it
yeah.
well.
Bang down low. Yeah, because he has the physicality. He can do it. He's strong, so that's not an issue. So that's definitely. Let's hope we will see more of that. You know.
Yeah, the Knicks are definitely going to need it. As far as the stats, field goal percentage, the Knicks did poor. They were at 34. We'll round it off. They were at 35%. Minnesota was at 51%. 3-point percentage, the Knicks was at 24%. Minnesota was at 32. Free throw percentages, the Knicks were at 79%. Minnesota was at 75. The Knicks had 50 total rebounds. Minnesota had 44. The Knicks had 17 offensive rebounds. Minnesota had 7. The Knicks had 33 defensive rebounds. Minnesota had 37. Assists, Minnesota had 30. The Knicks only had 16. Blocks, the Knicks had 3. Minnesota had 7. The Knicks had 8 steals. Minnesota had 7. The Knicks only had 10 turnovers. Minnesota had 13 points in the paint. The Knicks lost that category. Excuse me. The Knicks only had 38 points in the paint. Minnesota had 48, and personal fouls were pretty equal. And then as far as scoring goes, the Knicks did have 5 guys in double figures. We Julius Randle finished with 21 points, 14 rebounds. RJ Barrett had 14 points, 7 rebounds. Mitchell Robinson finished with a double double. He had 10 points, 11 boards. Jalen Brunson had 25 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds. DiVincenzo finished with 7 points, 5 assists, 3 rebounds. Josh Hart only had 4 points, 2 rebounds. So it was a quiet game for Josh. IQ had 15 points, and Isaiah Hartenstein only had 2 points, 4 rebounds. So, yeah, I think the scoring was quite low for RJ Barrett with only 14 points, quickly 15 points. Definitely could have gotten a little bit more out of him. I would even say Randall because he only gave us 21. Yeah, he had 14 boards, but I mean,
Hmm.
I feel like the scoring wasn't as balanced as I would have liked to see. And RJ had a quiet game. I don't know if this is because he's still coming back from the migraines. I liked what I saw from him on the court, but I just felt like it was a quiet game for a couple of guys on the team. Um, but overall, I thought it was a decent Fort game, but it wasn't enough.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. And as far as with Brunson's assists, he would have had more if they would have made the shots. So you can't fault him for trying. You could pass it to the man. You can't shoot it for him. You
Right.
could only pass it to him. So that's why I think our assists, was so low. They just couldn't, or whatever, they couldn't capitalize, on their shots. So that hurt them. That three, they struggled, with the three. So that, was something that hurt the Knicks. Um, again, I mean, I don't know if they were just relying on it, because the bigs down low. I don't know, but that's something
Or
that
do
needs
you
to.
think that the Knicks were because the past few games, the Knicks have been knocking down shots, they've been hot,
Oh, for
especially
sure.
beyond the arc. Do you think that's why the Knicks were shooting the ball and
Oh yeah, that's definitely played a factor in it. They know where they're at as far as at the three, and not for nothing. Even Tibbs say he wants to be in the top. I think like five. As far as teams, hitting the three. Okay, but and my thing it goes back to, if it's not falling, fall on the plan B. For whatever reason, and that's it. And I don't know if they were just scared to just go in, go down. I mean, so it just makes you wonder. But I think mostly, I guess, because they were hitting a three and they were relying on it, so that could played a factor in it as well.
do you feel like Jalen Brunson was passing the ball enough?
Oh yeah, they just wasn't hitting them. They just wasn't capitalizing on it. I think everybody got some touches and decent looks. They just weren't falling last night for whatever reason.
But do you think that also, like looking at the offense, especially in the second half, do you feel like the offense was stagnant? Or was it just that the Knicks weren't making shots? Or was it a combination of both?
It was
Because
a
you know the
combination of both.
Knicks
Go ahead.
the Knicks tend to have they have this, we've talked about this too, where the Knicks, you gotta move without the ball. And
Yeah.
no necessary guys weren't necessarily standing there doing this, like looking like, hey, pass me the ball. But I do think that the Knicks have a tendency of, I don't know if they're running out of plays or they, feel like maybe they ran a play the last time they went down on offense. But what do you think that it was that like also hurt the Knicks? Was it on the offensive end? Because we know defensively where the defense collapsed, but also just knocking down shots and making buckets. What do you think fell through with the Knicks? Was it that the offense was stagnant, or was it that the Knicks weren't moving the ball?
Yeah, definitely it was stagnant, and both, because like the first half they were in it. They hung in with Minnesota. And after that second, half, they tend to, in that game they diverted from why
What
they
was
were in it the
working?
first half.
Mhm.
They got away from that. They had very good ball movement. That proves because they were in it. So they sort of got away from the game plan, and
Yeah.
then now it becomes stagnant. It seems like, I don't know if they you want to fill up the stat sheet. Well, yeah, fill it up with points. I mean, so I think it was a combination of the both. Stagnant and just worried. moving the ball, as fluidly as they were in the first half.
Yeah, I thought the Knicks played Minnesota style of game and got lost and wrapped up in their game and not play and they didn't play their style of game, New York Knicks style of game and what's been working for you. I do want to point out in the first quarter, the Knicks scored 28 points. Timberwolves had 31. Second quarter, the Knicks scored 28 again. Minnesota only scored 27. Now, the third quarter is where there was some concern. The Knicks only scored 19 points. Minnesota scored 35.
Wow.
Fourth quarter, Knicks scored 25, Minnesota 24. So the third quarter is really where the Knicks lost the game.
Yeah.
But at one point in the fourth, the Knicks got it down to like 13, 14 points. So they got back in the game, but it wasn't enough to get them over the hump. And I think part of that is because, like you just said, the Knicks left what was working in the first half. And the Knicks have to learn as a team when you have a groove and a rhythm, and that's helping you
Yeah.
get through that first, second, third quarter. Why the hell are you drifting from that in the fourth quarter? Do you not love yourself?
Yeah.
Do you not love us, the fans? Why would you go away from what was working the first three quarters and say, well, in the fourth, well, we got this? No, you don't, because you didn't get the W yet. The clock didn't go out and the game is not over.
Yeah.
I don't know for the life of me why the Knicks are one of those teams. They tend to do that. You guys are not Detroit.
Yeah.
You're not Charlotte where you can't figure out how to win a game. Like we went past the Blues Clues and going through that struggle. You're not that team anymore where a few years ago, like DJ Shuttle was saying last night, where a few years ago, and you and I was just saying this, where the Knicks were just funky. They just were awful. You've gotten
Yep.
past that. So at some point, this is where also I look at not just the coaching with Tibbs, and I know this is why some people have issues with Tibbs. Some fans have issues with Tibbs. It's also like I feel like it's a leadership thing too. Cause when you in the timeout, who's calling guys out like, yo,
Well,
we got this. Like, let's and not saying there's no one doing that, but like you gotta have some. I wonder if there's someone on the team who's like, yo, you know, directing us, directing the guys to get back to what was getting you throughout the game. And I just
yeah.
feel like, the third quarter, excuse me, the Knicks can't come back from a halftime and then in the third quarter. All it takes is for a team to get a little bit of a run. And now in the fourth quarter, the
Yep.
Knicks, you're playing decent, but you're trading baskets, and it's not enough to get you within a certain amount to be within a close distance to try to win the game. So I agree with you. I just think that the Knicks tend to drift off from what's working for them and they steer off from their game that they're playing and it just I hate to see that. I really do. And they have to work on that. That's something that the Knicks have to work on.
Yeah. And another thing, Minnesota, one of their starters went down, Jaden.
Yeah.
So this is when it next man up, and the Knicks have to have someone to fill that gap and that role for when they're struggling. Like who, yeah, you can't rely on Brunson and even Julius Randle. I just had a decent again, like you say, we don't know if it's because of the migraines, but who else is gonna fill in that gap, that scoring gap. So, Minnesota found somebody, so like that's what the Knicks need, and they're
Yeah.
lacking.
Yeah, I
So,
agree. The Knicks need someone else because it can't just fall on just Randall and Brunson,
hmm
And
yeah,
RJ is able to help contribute towards the scoring, but I think more importantly on the defensive end, like watching that game last night, it made me think like, well, damn, what are the Knicks gonna do when they play on Friday against Miami? Because that was one of the big problems that the Knicks had defensively
hmm
against Miami. When Miami was moving that ball, unlike Cleveland, Miami was moving that ball around.
oh yeah, yep,
it was like 4 or 5 passes before someone took a shot, but they were quick, crisp passes. And the Knicks were like, they were trying to, like, it was a game of tennis. They were trying to
Yeah,
keep up with where the ball was going. So it
yeah,
left someone open on Miami and they had a nice open shot.
yeah. They were a step or two slower than
Yeah.
Miami.
But
So,
this is where on the defensive end, the Knicks gotta really learn to move their feet. It goes back to the basics of basketball. When they teach you them drills of how to move your feet on the defensive end, you got to be able to move your feet. And not many guys on the Knicks know how to move their feet. Like Quickly moves his
mhm,
feet very well.
yeah,
He does a great job moving his feet. And Grimes is pretty good on the defensive end. But last night, Grimes looked like a senior in high school going against an NBA professional player. That's what it looked like.
yeah,
Anthony
yeah, yeah.
Edwards was like in his bag going against Grimes, and Grimes was literally a step too slow. He just
Yeah,
couldn't
it,
keep
it
up
was
with him.
it
It
was
was
no
no
answer for
match.
Edwards.
Yeah,
Yep.
he was no match. And this
Yeah.
is what I'm saying where, we talked about this last night on Dope Soul Sports Talk. Shout out to Queen, everyone else on the panel, where we brought up, Grimes starting on, needing DiVincenzo for the second unit.
Mhm.
I don't know. I'm still torn with that because I just feel like as a whole, the Knicks defensively, and I just said this too. I wanted if it was our last episode, the Knicks defensively are just not good. And that's something that hurts them. I mean, Mitch does a great job. He had a few nice blocks last night against Towns, a few
Yeah.
other guys, but you need those other guys who could, like you said, the lack of the bigs.
Yep.
You need the length, guys who are willing to take a charge like Jalen Brunson and sacrifice their body. I just think that those are things that, the Knicks don't have. So Friday, the Knicks have a nice little break with Thanksgiving coming up. What are you looking forward to when the Knicks play Miami on Friday?
One word, defense. Enough said. Nothing else. Defense. Serious. I rest my case.
Yeah, I agree. The Knicks definitely have to be able to step up against Miami. That game is at 7:30. The Heat are currently,
It should be 9 and 5. What are they?
I love how when I'm pulling up the standings, they
They're
tell me
nine and
about the
five.
NBA group tour. Yeah, the NBA in season tournament. Like I'm not asking about that.
They're 9 and 5.
Yeah, the Heat are currently sitting fourth, right behind the Milwaukee Bucks in the Eastern Conference. The Magic is still moving on strong, but we'll see when we get around the 20 game mark. I heard Sim say that, which is true because some of those teams like Indiana, Orlando, we'll see what happens. Yeah, the Heat are doing pretty well with scraps.
Scraps.
And you know
Yeah.
what? I think, and I was saying this to you before, I think the Heat being able to do that with like really no one on their team, to me, it's not just because they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. I think it's the coaching. A
Oh
big
yes,
part of
it
it is the
is.
coaching, and Tibbs is not the same coach as what's his name?
Postra. Yeah.
Spoelstra. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Well.
just feel like it's two different styles.
Yeah.
Spoelstra like sees the game through a different lens and he
Yeah.
knows how to make the right proper adjustments with whoever he has on his team. You know what I mean? He knows how to truly say, okay, well, I'm gonna use this and make this work. Whereas, Tibbs, he's stuck in that old school coaching style and he likes who he likes, and this is who's he gonna put in. Where Spoelstra's gonna be like, nah, I'm gonna give that guy a chance. If we don't have Tyler Hero, no problem. I'm gonna put this guy in. I know he could shoot. I've seen what he's done. And you coach, and he seems like the type of coach, Spolstra, where he's gonna yell at you. He's damn near spitting, foaming at the mouth because he knows what he wants. And he wants you to give him what he wants as far as whatever play they're running. And he
Hmm.
wants it done a certain way. And he seemed like the type to be like, that's not how I want to play. Like you need to do, but guess what? It shows when they're on the court. When Miami's on that court, I'm not saying they're the greatest team, but Miami's that team. They're winning games for a reason. And a
Yeah.
big part of that, I feel like, is because of the coaching and the way they're coached. Because let's just say Spoelstra was coaching the Knicks. A lot of these games that the Knicks have played that were close games or teams we should have won, the Knicks would have won if he was coaching.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Because Tibbs, he seems like he's a defense first. That's what it seems like. And then, and like they say, defense leads to offense. But then when your offense is not, clicking, what do you do?
Right.
Because apparently it's not working. So it's he's one of them old style, like you said, coaches and don't want to veer off from the game plan. Well, if it's working, well, it's not. Because
Right.
you guys should, the Knicks should be further along, because yeah, they won the games that they should have won, but now you need to win the games that you need to win, like you know. So what do you do for those tough games like
Right.
Minnesota? Case in point, what are you gonna do when you run across Denver? Um, even OKC, Sacramento, things like that. When you get really challenged,
Right.
you're gonna meet up again with the Bucks. You will see them again. So what do you do for teams like that?
Right. And not lose to them 2 and 3 times. You gotta take,
Yeah,
you if you can beat them twice, great, but you gotta beat them at least once.
yeah,
You can't
yeah,
allow those not just better coached, but better teams, not just because the standings, but they're just overall a better team than
yeah,
you.
yeah,
They're beatable, but they are a better team. The Knicks have to figure out a way how to beat those elite teams and those teams that are better than them. And, I think the Knicks still have some work to do. Even though it's still early in the season, but I think a lot of these early games are still as important because you got to watch where your standings are in the East. And that could change, after the new year. It can always
yeah,
change. It goes up and down, and I get that, but you don't want to dig yourself in too much of a hole and then that you got to climb out of. It's going to be too hard to do that. And, I also think it's important that the Knicks not just make the playoffs, but you got to get past the first round.
yeah,
You can't just make the playoffs. Ooh, we know you can make the playoffs. But what are you going to do when you get there? You know what I mean?
yeah.
So this is why you have to be preparing yourself for those Bostons, for those Denvers, for the Milwaukees, because as it gets closer to playoff season, you got to be able to meet Philadelphia.
Yeah, and we definitely gonna need more bench production. I mean, the bench was horrible yesterday.
Yeah,
We're gonna
yeah,
need guys to step up and that's fill that gap, with points. So that's gonna be key, and it's gonna be huge for down the stretch for the Knicks. So
yeah.
that's just something, to be on the lookout for.
So what are your keys for Friday's game or any particular players you're looking for to break out or any particular things? I know you said defense that you're looking for Friday's game.
I'm looking for RJ to have, and they're at home, by the way, and it's an in-season tournament game, so they go on a 4 game home trip. So again, you got to protect home as well. So what I'm looking for, I definitely want to see RJ, have a monster game. Um, I would like to see Grimes, for whatever be if it's confidence and you know I don't know what it is, but I would like to see him definitely have a decent game. And again, like I said, defense. That's all. I want those
Yeah.
two guys to definitely have a monster game. And then defense again.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking for the defense to be locked in. I think it's gonna be crucial to hold Jimmy buckets, guard the perimeter because Miami's definitely gonna shoot the three, but Miami's also gonna drive. I think
Oh
the Knicks
yeah.
have to figure out a way. This is why I'm saying like the Knicks don't play one-on-one defense well, and they don't play a zone well either. But one-on-one, they have to get better. And even if you lose your man, the communication needs to be there. I think the Knicks have to step up the communication because
Mm-hmm.
when you have your guards, your DiVincenzo's, your Grimes, your Brunsons, and they man go past them, Mitch has a tough decision. So a
Yeah,
lot of
you're right.
times teams are getting an open, easy layup, a cakewalk, because Mitch is like,
Hmm.
well, dang, do I go up? Because if he goes up, they just gonna throw that guy down low right under the basket, the ball. Or if he stays with his man, now they got an easy layup. So he's stuck in between a rock and a hard place, and he's doing his job. But what do you do? So I think the communication needs to be there. And the problem is if you have another guard on the Knicks slide over to help out, that player that's driving in, he may just kick the ball out and now they get an open three or open jumper. So it's tough, but again, I think the Knicks have to do a lot better job on the defensive end, and that's what I'm looking forward to Miami. They really have to start to truly lock in defensively. Um, Move without the ball. Um, you know, don't just settle for the threes. And I
Yeah.
also want to see the Knicks knocking down shots, not just the three mid range, whichever, but I want to see the Knicks knocking down shots because that was one of the things that we struggled with on Miami. And because it is an in-season tournament, the Knicks need to look to get this win because Miami's trying to go undefeated in this in-season tournament. So it would be nice if the Knicks could give them their first loss in the in-season tournament and then beat them as revenge from last year in the playoffs. So I'm looking for the Knicks to truly be locked in. I think it's important that Randall steps up, Brunson steps up, RJ steps up, and we also need help from Josh Hart. We need help from DiVincenzo. Grimes, it would be nice, but I'm not holding my breath. I hear you looking for him, but I'm not holding my breath. But it would be nice if Grimes steps up also. Um, and Hartenstein, I mean, I'm looking for some points from him too. And it would be nice to see Hartenstein start using the three because that would be a nice way to open up the floor, even if he only takes one a game. I don't know if that they don't want him doing that, but we know he
Yeah,
can make the shot. Um,
exactly.
but I'm definitely looking for the Knicks to truly lock in. I want to see guys take the ball in and be aggressive. Get Miami in foul trouble. Get to the line, make your free throws because the Knicks have still been struggling on that free throw line. And guys just being ready for when quickly and Brunson passed them that ball. So I'm looking for the Knicks to truly go and take this W. Do you have them winning this game?
Yeah, I do. I do.
Yeah. I think the Knicks are definitely, I look at Miami while they're better than Atlanta, they're still a good matchup for the Knicks. So, I'm looking for the Knicks to take this W.
Yeah, for sure. Even I mean, even for the next four, I have them. Phoenix. I think is going to give them a little matchup problem.
Yeah.
But definitely I have them at 3-1 for for the next four games.
Oh, same. Yeah, because you got to beat Charlotte. You
Yeah.
you already beat them twice. Don't let Char This is where Imma be pissed off. If the Knicks go and play Charlotte and let Charlotte win in that ends, Imma be very upset with the Knicks.
Yeah, and it's an in-season tournament game, so
That's what I'm
you
saying.
definitely
You
gotta.
gotta win that. Don't
Yeah,
let
for sure.
Charlotte beat you. That would be so silly to allow them to beat you. And the Pistons, come on.
Yeah, they're
Struggle ain't the
struggling.
word. They can't even find a win. So
Yeah.
I'm with you. I got them 3-1. But again, I am looking for that Phoenix game for the Knicks to put up a fight and to make it a challenging game and not to lose themselves and to be able to keep up with them. And you
Yeah, for
gotta
sure.
hold KD and Booker, but for sure KD, because he can knock down.
Yeah.
He's just a walking bucket.
Mhm. For sure. Yep.
But yeah, that's all for me today. You have anything else before we get out of here?
No, you know what my busy schedule looks like, so
Yeah, we will probably be back Friday. What time the Knicks play Friday? 7:30?
yeah, think
Yeah.
about that.
So we'll do a pregame before then. Um, but yeah, maybe I'll pop in on someone's channel. I don't think there's gonna be many podcasts this week with Thanksgiving, but yeah, as always, thank everybody for watching. We truly appreciate it. Um, subscribe to our channel. Tell somebody to tell somebody, tell a friend, your cousin. Um, leave us a comment, like this video. And yeah, until next time, I guess we'll be back on Friday.
Friday.
Yeah, we'll be back.
Well, everybody have a happy Thanksgiving and enjoy it with your loved ones. And be blessed.
Yeah, stay safe, everybody. Until next time, we out. Peace.
Peace.